The day I took a big file to the police station to update our household registration, the officer told me I was listed as unmarried. The officer pointed to Robert Hayes's file and showed me the wife section. Clearly, the name written there was Emily. She was the widow of one of his former comrades, going through a tough time and in need of help. I had agreed to let him bring Emily into our home, thinking I was simply helping a grieving woman who had lost her husband. I went to find Robert. Before I could even open my mouth to question him, he cut me off. "That's enough," he said. "Everything I've done is for your own good. I only got involved with her to take the pressure off you." Then Emily also showed up at the Civil Affairs Bureau. "Robert hasn't made this public all these years because he didn't want to upset you," she said. "What do you even have to be mad about?" That's when it hit me. The woman I had spent so many years taking care of turned out to be a heartless traitor. Back then, when Emily was seriously ill, I couldn't stand to see her suffer alone, so I stayed in the hospital day and night to take care of her. And what did I get in return? She got involved with my husband. Emily crossed her arms, lips curling into a smug smile. "You really thought you were the legal wife? You never even registered the marriage. The name on the certificate is mine." She stepped closer, her voice dropping to a venomous whisper. "And that baby back then? You thought it was your body that failed you? Robert arranged everything with the doctor. He didn't want that kid to be born. Don't be so naive, you were just the live-in housekeeper. He never loved you." My ears rang. My chest felt like it was being crushed. The world spun around me as I struggled to breathe. Emily's voice was still ringing in my ears when my knees gave out. Sharp pain stabbed through my heart. My vision went black. When I opened my eyes again, I was lying in a hospital room. The smell of disinfectant filled the air. Next to me, Emily sat smiling sweetly, just like before. Her face looked younger, too familiar, too fake. "Don't worry, Olivia. I'll help take care of you and the baby," she cooed gently. My blood turned cold. I had been reborn, right back to the day they planned to kill my child. Bookmark, go back. That thought filled me with panic. On this day, Robert would cheat on me with a strange woman. I would find out after the miscarriage. I was so overwhelmed with grief and rage that it damaged my health. I was bedridden for half a year and never fully recovered. Now that I think about it, that strange woman was Emily. I couldn't help but sneer. I had cared for her for so many years, and yet she turned out to be a snake. Back then, I naively thought she was grieving the loss of her husband and poured my heart into taking care of her. I made sure she had food, clothes, and comfort. I didn't let her lift a finger. Now I wish I could tear them apart. But right now, the most urgent thing was to save my child. I quietly prayed to the gods and found a way to get Robert and Emily out of the room. "I'm feeling a little scared being alone. Can you help me find him?" I asked her. I saw a flicker of joy flash across Emily's face. I knew that if she weren't afraid of raising my suspicions, she wouldn't have waited around at all. As I watched her leave with a spring in her step, I got up from the hospital bed. This was the hospital where I lost my child. Robert had bribed the doctors. Even though they knew the baby was in breech position, they went ahead with the delivery anyway. Not only did they kill my baby, they destroyed my chance of ever becoming a mother again. While Robert and Emily were sneaking off to fool around, I immediately filed for a hospital transfer. With how cold-blooded they both were, I knew they wouldn't come back to check on me. The next day, my baby was safely born. When I looked at that warm, tiny bundle beside me, my eyes filled with tears. I could feel the undeniable bond. This was my own flesh and blood. In my previous life, Robert and Emily conspired to cause my miscarriage. When I was most in need of care, they used the excuse of being busy with the team to live happily together, while I, sick and heartbroken, had to look after Robert's parents and earn money for him. I suffered endlessly. With my support, Robert's career soared, and he lived in comfort. Meanwhile, my own child died in the delivery room, and I lost everything through relentless pain and exhaustion. This time, I'll make them pay. I'll destroy them. I'll drag their names through the mud and make sure they never recover. Not long after I got home, Robert and Emily returned too. The moment Robert walked through the door, his eyes drifted toward my belly. There was no sound of a baby crying in the house. When he saw that my stomach had flattened, a nearly imperceptible smile of satisfaction appeared on his face. "It's okay if you lost the baby," he said nonchalantly. "We can always have another one." I lowered my eyes to hide the sarcasm in them. I hadn't said a word. How did he already know whether I miscarried or gave birth? So it was that obvious. Emily stepped forward and said, "It's okay, Olivia. Don't blame yourself too much. It's not your fault. You've been so good to me. Let's just focus on our own little world, the two of us," Robert said softly. I remained cold and distant. Did they really think they had covered everything so perfectly? Even now, they were still trying to fool me. When they saw that I didn't react at all, their rehearsed duet began to falter. I noticed a reddish mark on Emily's neck. It was clear they had been messing around a lot lately. The two of them started to lose interest. Robert slumped onto the couch. "I'm hungry," she said. Emily clutched her stomach and put on a cutesy, innocent expression. That kind of act might have looked sweet to the old me, but I ignored her and turned around to go back to my room. Robert, clearly charmed by her act, said, "Didn't you hear? Emmy said she's hungry. Go make something." "I won't," I replied. "I just had a miscarriage. I'm not well. I have no energy or mood to cook for you two." Emily quickly held Robert's arm, trying to calm his rising anger, and gave a slight shake of her head. Last time, their little love affair was cut short by my early miscarriage. But now, since I had carried the baby to term, they must have had plenty of time for their affair. I glanced at Emily's still flat stomach and deliberately brought her up. "Robert's been busy with work lately. What about you, Emily? Where have you been these past few days?" A strange flicker crossed her face. I went out with a guy I like." "A guy?" I asked, narrowing my eyes. "Didn't you say after your husband died you'd never fall for anyone else again?" Before Emily could answer, Robert jumped in to defend his precious woman. "Why do you care so much, Olivia? Is it because you can't have kids that you're so jealous of Emily? You're just cursed. That kid of yours was a little devil. That's why it couldn't be born." His words made my fingertips tremble with rage. Just a little more, and they would have succeeded in killing my baby. Yet Robert had the nerve to speak about it so self-righteously, like he was the victim. I couldn't hold back anymore. "Robert, do you really believe I couldn't give birth?" He looked annoyed and snapped. "Obviously, it's because you're cursed. That little devil of yours wasn't meant to live." I masked the sneer on my face. Now that I saw them for what they truly were, I realized how openly they had been scheming all along. I brushed them off with a few vague words and went back to my room. The first thing I did was check the message from the private investigator. Just as I expected, Robert had bribed the doctor to perform the abortion. He was the one who murdered my baby. Later, on my way to the bathroom, I heard heavy breathing coming from Emily's room. It wasn't hard to guess what they were doing in there. Suddenly, they started talking. I paused and listened closely. "Robert, it's finally over," Emily said. "But it was still your child. You're not mad at me, right?" Robert's voice was disgustingly gentle. "Of course not. Why would I be upset over that old hag's baby? The only baby I want is yours. I only acknowledge the child you give me. That little bastard wasn't even human. Let it die. Still, we should keep her around. That woman's still somewhat useful. She can cook and clean for us. Once you get pregnant, we'll have her take care of our baby too." "But we still have to hide our relationship," Emily complained. "It's fine," Robert said. "Just say you're moving out to study for some test. Then we'll have her come over just to clean and bring food. That way, we can be together whenever we want. Don't you look forward to that?" Emily let out another soft moan. "You're terrible." I wanted to throw up. I deliberately dragged my foot along the floor as I walked, making enough noise to startle them. The room instantly went silent. They must have been scared out of their minds. Back in my bedroom, I began submitting resumes online. I had once given up a well-arranged job opportunity just to marry Robert and be with him. I moved alone to a city far from home. A while ago, an old contact from school had offered me a great opportunity, but I turned it down because I was pregnant. Looking back, I can't believe how foolish I was. This time, I will never let them trap me again. Even if I had to work and take care of a newborn at the same time, I was ready to endure it. Over the years, Robert Hayes climbed the career ladder, thanks to my influence and support. He used the connections and reputation I had built for him to pull strings and advance himself. The ridiculous part was, I had foolishly believed we were actually husband and wife. I gave 50 years of my life to that family without a second thought. I took the wedding ring from our marriage and smashed it with all my strength. Getting divorced was a good thing. At least now I didn't have to figure out how to get rid of him. A few months from now, I'd be moving to the city for work anyway. This would save me the hassle of going through a divorce battle with him. While I was still in postpartum recovery, I didn't do anything strenuous, but Robert lived like a king. Clothes handed to him, food served at the table, not lifting a single finger. He even had his meals personally delivered to his mouth by Emily. Sometimes, worried I might complain, he'd go around telling the neighbors that she was preparing for her college entrance exams and needed to stay focused. He'd explain that Emily was the wife of his youngest former subordinate, and we had to support her fully. He even had the nerve to scold me. I know your body's weak from the miscarriage, but you can't just do nothing. Who do you expect to cook and clean if you don't? I didn't answer. It was like he didn't even see me. Me, a woman who had just given birth, pale and weak, recovering from painful stitches, barely sleeping at night. I could hardly eat more than a few bites of food and didn't even have the strength to lift a chair. Anytime he saw me leaning against furniture for support, Robert would make a loud fuss clattering dishes, complaining I was being dramatic and pretending to be seriously ill. Then he'd turn and serve food to Emily, praising her for being strong and living well even after her husband passed away. Emily would smile politely, saying she understood that I was tired from the miscarriage and from studying. She said it was okay that I didn't want to do housework and that she'd try harder in school to set a good example for me. The way he looked down on me, the way they pretended to be kind, made it obvious that they were secretly pleased with my misery. But they never noticed the faint smile I tried to hide as I looked down. It was almost time to leave. I quietly started packing my things. Robert and Emily didn't care what I was doing. They had no clue. Not until the day I was ready to go did something change. Emily came home holding a document, her face dark and angry. "Olivia, what's this?" she asked. The bold letters across the top of the document read, "Job offer letter." I stayed calm. Without blinking, I took the paper and tore it into pieces, tossing them in the trash. The noise in the living room drew Robert out. I looked at them both and said in a steady voice, "Why are you questioning me? It's not like this is the first time I've rejected an offer like that. Emily's about to take her college entrance exam. You're busy with work. How could I just leave? Everything I do is for our family. I've already called and declined the offer." Robert, always the arrogant fool, believed me immediately. His face relaxed and he even looked pleased. Watching me toss the torn-up offer into the trash, he said smugly, "You know your place. You're a married woman. You should stay home and do housework. Don't think that college degree of yours makes you special. Don't go flaunting yourself and making me look bad." He added, "Emily's adult college entrance exam is coming up. I'm planning to throw her a support party. You should prepare it properly. Don't embarrass her." Of course I agreed. In fact, I couldn't wait. A party? What a perfect opportunity. The more people, the better. Soon, the day of the party arrived. As expected, Robert went all out. He reserved an entire upscale restaurant and invited all his colleagues, superiors, friends, and relatives, even the neighbors. I wouldn't have been surprised if he invited the neighbor's dog, too. Dressed in a sharp suit, Robert beamed as he welcomed guests at the entrance, full of pride and energy. Emily, wearing a formal dress and smiling sweetly, stood right by his side. The two of them looked exactly like a married couple. Correction, they were a married couple now. That and the number of people attending, it was overwhelming. They had hired a top-rated host for the event, and the party atmosphere heated up quickly. The entire banquet hall buzzed with joy and celebration. Just as the mood reached its peak, Robert Hayes picked up the microphone to give a speech of gratitude. When it was my turn to be mentioned, he put on a solemn face and said, "Olivia, thank you for taking care of me all these years. But I understand that the responsibilities my workplace has entrusted me with are great. Now that I've accepted this heavy burden, I'll be even busier in the future. You weren't able to give birth to a child to carry on the Hayes family bloodline. I don't blame you for that. But Emily is the widow of my fallen comrade, and she's about to take her college entrance exam. We must fully support her. From now on, you'll be responsible for her daily care. I believe that, with your gentle and virtuous nature, you'll take excellent care of her. Emily immediately smiled and chimed in. I believe Olivia truly cares for me. I'm very grateful for everything she's done. Olivia, don't worry. It's okay that you lost the baby. Once I get into college, I'll definitely repay your kindness. Their speeches were full of false sincerity and grand righteousness. The guests around us clapped in approval, praising them for their virtue and loyalty. I clenched my palms tightly to calm the storm raging inside me. They kept thanking me, but for what exactly? For giving up my career to support his? For letting him and Emily get away with killing my child behind my back? I was the one making sacrifices, and yet Robert was the one getting praised for being so noble and caring, both to his wife and to the widow of his comrade. The leaders at the party were clearly impressed. Mr. Hayes is such a good man, one of them said. He treats his wife well, and he even takes care of his fallen comrade's wife like his own. Truly exceptional. I feel confident handing such a responsibility to someone with his kind of loyalty and integrity. Robert could barely contain his joy at the praise, his expression practically glowing. Relatives and friends also chimed in, saying how harmonious the Hayes family was. Not only is the wife great, but even his relationship with his comrade's widow is so warm and peaceful, one said. Although I could tell Emily didn't like hearing that, since no one was calling out the fact that she had slept with another woman's husband, she managed to hold her expression. But it clearly stung. She glared at the people talking and stormed off to find Robert, her face dark. Exactly. Look how perfect Olivia and Robert look together, someone said with a laugh. Seeing Emily's sour expression, the friends and relatives didn't even realize what they had done wrong. They just glanced at me awkwardly. I smiled without saying a word and continued making small talk with the guests. Suddenly, moaning noises came through the banquet hall speakers, clear sounds of two people doing something indecent. The atmosphere froze in an instant. Everyone looked around in confusion, unsure what they were hearing, but the noises didn't stop. Robert's voice came through next. He was coaxing someone gently. Don't be upset, baby. Once we move out, she won't bother us anymore. People immediately began scanning the room, searching for me. When they saw me standing calmly in the center of the room, holding a glass of wine, their brows furrowed. Then another voice came through, soft and unmistakably familiar. Everyone who knew her recognized it instantly. It was Emily. Robert, I'm so done with her. People still think you two are a real couple. Robert's voice responded, just hang in there, my sweet Emily. He didn't even finish his sentence when a sharp, shrieking scream burst through the sound system. It was Emily yelling. A moment later, the audio was abruptly cut off with an ear-piercing electronic whine. Many guests at the party were still too stunned to process what had just happened. Then Emily burst out of the sound booth, face twisted in fury. Olivia, this is your doing, isn't it? She screamed like a rat whose tail had just been stomped, eyes wild with panic. For days now, I'd been deliberately cornering them, leaving them all the time and freedom they needed to get even more tangled up in their little affair, training them to sneak around constantly, unable to keep their hands off each other. And now? Perfect. They had gotten so used to their shameless habits that they couldn't even bother choosing the right time or place, and ended up doing it right in the banquet hall's audio room. And yet they were shameless enough to have that disgusting recording broadcast in front of everyone. Emily screamed and charged at me, hand raised, trying to grab my hair. This was you, wasn't it? Olivia, you're just trying to get revenge on me because your baby died, aren't you? I dodged her grasp and said coldly, Emily, what are you even talking about? I don't understand a word you're saying. You said my baby died, but my baby is alive and perfectly well. Why are you so sure my child is dead? As I spoke, my longtime best friend stepped forward holding a fair-skinned, adorable baby in her arms. When I heard people saying Olivia had a miscarriage, I thought it was odd, she said loudly. Her baby was born just fine. I even wondered if there was some other miscarriage I didn't know about. Why would you think Olivia lost her baby? Her words were blunt, but the implication behind them was razor sharp. Emily's eyes locked onto my baby, her whole face twisted in panic. She rushed forward, trying to grab the child from my friend's arms. No, no, that baby is supposed to be dead. Dr. Zhang said so. Didn't he say he already took care of it? Her words were frantic, disjointed, contradicting themselves. The look on her face screamed guilt, fear, and fury at the realization she'd been exposed. She looked like a ghost who had just come face to face with vengeance. But I didn't flinch. I met her gaze and smiled slowly. Yes, this is my child. Look closely. My baby with Robert Hayes. Of course he's not dead. As for you, well, you only have yourself to blame. Who told you to go sneak off into the audio room for a quickie? I gave her a look of mock sympathy. I never wanted to make this public, but you insisted on throwing a fit, so why not let everyone see it now? I pressed the button I'd been hiding in my sleeve. The giant screen in the banquet hall flickered and suddenly switched to a video. It showed a bedroom from an overhead camera angle. On the bed, a man and a woman were tangled together in a heated kiss. Anyone who looked closely could immediately recognize them. Robert, Hayes, and Emily. I actually pitied you, I said softly, facing the guests. Your husband had just passed. I figured maybe you were just starved for affection, scared to be alone without a man. That's why you seduced mine. But who knew you'd be this shameless, bringing it all the way into the party venue? Emily completely lost control of her facial expressions. Her voice became shrill and piercing. That's not true. You're the one who acts like some crude peasant, always making yourself impossible to love. You never cared about Robert at all. At that point, the crowd finally started putting the pieces together. They turned toward Robert, whispering and muttering. Someone spoke up, just loud enough to be heard. Captain Hayes, is this true? You were having an affair with the wife of your subordinate? And did you really try to kill your own baby? Didn't you say the child had already died? Then how is the baby still alive? Most of the guests didn't know what was going on. The ones who knew a little only knew what Robert had told them, that I had miscarried. Now they were completely confused. The entire hall burst into chaotic chatter. Murmurs, accusations, and questions swirled in the air. Robert's face had gone pale. He couldn't find the words to explain. Emily, still panicked, shouted again, "That damn kid of hers is dead! Robert and I..." Smack! Robert's expression changed instantly as he slapped her hard across the face, cutting her off mid-sentence. He instinctively glanced at the expressions of his superiors, then leaned in and hissed at her through clenched teeth. "You crazy woman! What the hell are you talking about? I don't know anything about this." Emily held her slapped cheek and lunged at him in fury, clawing at him. "You heartless bastard! You planned this with that old witch from the start, didn't you? You kept her baby just to trick me." Robert looked like he just swallowed poison. He tried to hold Emily back, barely restraining her as she flailed at him. "Stop it! When are you going to stop making a scene?" "You think I'm making a scene?" she shrieked. "You promised me. You said that woman's baby wouldn't live, that she'd miscarry. You told me the only baby you wanted was mine." Now the words were out there, loud and clear in front of everyone. Like a rock dropped in still water, her confession sent ripples through the entire room. People gasped and turned to each other in shock. "Did I hear that right?" someone whispered. "She just said they planned to make Olivia lose the baby? Because of jealousy? But didn't she say she loved her late husband?" another muttered. "How could she go after someone else's husband again? This is insane. And to go so far as to make a mother lose her child? Disgusting, just cruel beyond belief. Yeah, that's downright evil. Robert Hayes is supposed to be a government official. How could someone like that do something so despicable? Goes to show, you never really know someone, do you?" The scolding poured down on Robert and Emily like a rainstorm. The two of them were utterly humiliated, standing there as everyone threw insults at them. I stood quietly at the back of the room, watching it all unfold, and I felt nothing but sheer satisfaction. The elegant party had turned into complete chaos. People stopped eating, stopped chatting. They just stood there, frozen and confused. Robert's supervisor looked more furious by the second. Finally, he couldn't take it anymore and shouted, "Robert Hayes, explain this! What the hell is going on here?" On one side was Emily, completely hysterical. On the other, Robert's superiors demanding answers. Everyone was waiting. Robert's face was as white as a sheet. Cold sweat streamed down his face, soaking through his shirt. His eyes darted around the room in a panic, until he suddenly locked onto me, standing in the corner with my child in my arms. He pointed at me and yelled, "I don't know, it was Olivia. She set me up. This is all her plan. She told me she miscarried. She said she couldn't have children anymore. She told me to sleep with Emily so she could have a child for her." Emily just felt bad for her. She knew Olivia lost the baby and wanted a child, so she agreed. We even said we'd give the baby back to her later. But who knew Olivia would fake the baby's death to frame us? I didn't know anything about this. He scrambled to push all the blame onto me, acting as if he were completely innocent. In just a few lines, he made up an entire story in which I was the mastermind. Some of the more gullible guests wavered, confused. "Wait, really? Is that what happened?" Robert jumped at the chance. "Yes, that's exactly what happened. Why else would I sleep with Emily? Why would I do something like that and end up killing my own child? None of it's true. Olivia's just been home alone too long. She's gone crazy. Don't believe a word she says." As I watched him lie so smoothly, playing the righteous victim, I let out a cold laugh. "Robert Hayes," I said calmly, "have you lied so much that you're starting to believe your own stories? You're the one who wanted to cheat with Emily. You're the one who tried to kill my child. And now you want to twist everything?" His brows knitted tightly, and he shot back. "Then explain why you told me you miscarried. You were jealous of Emily because she's young and beautiful. That's what this is really about." I tilted my chin, my smile full of contempt. "When did I ever say I lost the baby? You. Didn't you tell me that when I came home? That the baby didn't make it?" "I was the one giving birth, Robert. Wouldn't I know better than anyone whether the baby survived or not? If you were so sure I miscarried, why didn't you go to the hospital and ask the doctors yourself? Unless, of course, you'd already made a deal with the doctor to have my baby killed." That caught him off guard. He started to stammer. I raised my voice so everyone could hear. Everyone. He didn't even know I changed hospitals to deliver. If I hadn't found out their plan in time, my baby would be dead right now. Rage burned through me. I raised my hand and slapped Robert hard across the face. "You tried to kill your wife's child, your own son. What kind of monster are you?" Tears welled up in my eyes, and my voice trembled as I said, "At first, when I found out he was having an affair with his fallen comrade's widow, I didn't expose them. I felt sorry for Emily, and I didn't want to damage Robert's reputation. But I never thought they'd take my silence as weakness and push things even further. They tried to kill my baby, and now that I've survived their scheme, they dare to turn the tables and frame me?" Robert was like a rat on a hot stove. If there weren't people holding him back, he might have lunged at me and tried to hit me right then and there. "You're lying. You're framing me, you crazy old witch!" He screamed. "You have no proof. Why are you saying all this in public?" Emily had regained some clarity, but her glare was full of venom. "You think ruining my reputation will make Robert Hayes fall in love with you?" she hissed. "Do you even need to ask? You're a spiteful, venomous tramp." Their words changed every second, each excuse more desperate and ridiculous than the last. Who would believe them now? I added fuel to the fire, my eyes red with tears. "Did you really think everything would just be over once you did what you did? Heaven has eyes. The net of justice is vast, but it never misses. What's been done can't just be erased. Maybe even the heavens couldn't stand your evil anymore, so the truth finally came out." Robert tried to jump in and explain, but was immediately cut off by his superior. "That's enough. Robert Hayes, I never imagined you were this kind of man. You've truly disappointed us, and you're still trying to make excuses? You think we're blind? That we can't think for ourselves?" Robert's face turned a sickly shade of purple. "I really didn't know. It was them. They set me up." His boss ignored him, his expression stone cold. "You're off that project, effective immediately. Go home and reflect on yourself and about your dealings with that doctor. We'll be investigating that thoroughly." Then the leader turned to me. Miss Olivia, it's our failure that we didn't pay closer attention and notice Robert's conduct issues sooner. But ultimately, this is your family matter. I won't interfere too much. I heard the unspoken message behind his words. I smiled slightly and replied, "Thank you, but there's no need for concern. I'll handle it. I'll also be leaving here soon to start work in the city." Watching Robert grovel before his superiors yet scream and threaten me at home. What a joke. He shouted, "Olivia, what are you even talking about? That job offer. You said you weren't taking it. You'd better think this through. Without me making money, what else do you even have? What company would want you?" I glanced at him and gave him a mocking smile. "You really don't know what an offer letter is, do you? It's just a formal confirmation. The actual employment started the moment they sent it. I was already hired before that paper ever arrived." The way I looked at him, as if he were a fool, only made him angrier. "I'm your husband," he shouted. "I forbid you from working. You'll never succeed unless I allow it. We're married, Olivia. Are you really ready to betray me like this?" I couldn't even be bothered to respond. He still thought he mattered. He had no idea how long I'd been waiting for this moment. I pulled out the divorce certificate I'd found in the house and slapped it against his chest. His face twisted. "What's this? Some fake certificate you printed off the internet? You think that's enough to make us not legally married?" I let out an exaggerated laugh. "Fake? You'd know if it's fake or not. Everyone here, I brought this document to ask, how is it possible for someone to have a legal divorce certificate registered in the national database without even knowing it happened?" The room went completely still. Not only Robert, everyone's expression shifted to disbelief. He didn't even know he was divorced? Olivia and Robert have been together for so many years. How is this even possible? She's got serious connections, able to bribe doctors and change system records. I addressed the room. If anyone here doesn't believe me, feel free to ask the leader standing next to me. He has access to the registry system. It's all there. Go check it yourself. The leader took out his phone to make a call and verify it. But just as he pulled it from his pocket, Robert lunged forward in a panic to stop him. That was it. There was no saving him now. Everyone knew exactly what kind of man he really was. The leader immediately ordered security to restrain Robert and made the verification call himself. Sure enough, the divorce was real. The room exploded in gasps and murmurs. People looked at Robert with shock and disgust. Why did he secretly divorce her? He must have been planning to marry the other woman. But then why hide it from Olivia? He just wanted to use her as a free maid? Gross. Absolutely disgusting. Robert could hear every whisper. His face twitched with shame, but there was no place left for him to hide. Robert looked like a walking corpse, but I wasn't done yet. "And let's not forget how you used my name to transfer my family's assets behind my back," I said coldly. "Did I ever mention that? Or that you and Emily registered your marriage on the very day I went into labor?" I paused, narrowing my eyes. "And one more thing. Doesn't the way Emily's late husband died seem a little suspicious?" Robert froze in shock. He finally couldn't keep his composure anymore. "Olivia, what else do you know?" he stammered. Some guests still couldn't believe it. "Maybe this is a misunderstanding. Could Olivia be mistaken?" I sneered. "Too much? Was it too much when they tried to kill my baby?" The same day I handed in my resignation, Emily's husband suddenly died, and they got married the moment I entered the delivery room. You think that's a coincidence? If anyone doesn't believe me, feel free to check Robert and Emily's marriage records. It's all there. Please, I added with a cold smile, there's no need to check anything. They're not even pretending anymore. Emily clung to Robert's arm, shaking him desperately. Say something, Robert. Are you just gonna stand there and let them gang up on me? You promised me. You said it would be us forever. Robert had had enough. Shut up, you stupid whore. All he cared about now was saving himself. Emily was no longer his concern. Then he turned to me, his eyes suddenly filled with a softness I had never seen before. Olivia, this is all a misunderstanding. I've changed. Please give me another chance. I swear I'll treat you right. I'll never hurt you again. I didn't even look at him. His voice grew more urgent. Don't be like this. Our son is still alive. Olivia, think about our child. Do you really want to take his father away from him? You'd be working and raising him all alone. How hard would that be? If you just forgive me, I'll forget everything that happened. We'll go back to how things used to be. I'll earn the money and you can stay home and raise our son. Isn't that good enough? He sounded so sincere. The perfect image of a repentant man. Even Emily couldn't take it anymore. Her voice turned sharp and bitter. You've got some nerve, Robert Hayes. Don't forget, I'm your wife now. You think you can just go crawling back to her? That little tramp really knows how to play the game, huh? Seducing men again, who knows how many others she's fooled. Before she could finish, Robert shouted, "Shut your mouth! Olivia is my real wife. If it weren't for you seducing me, I would have never done any of this. I could have had a peaceful life with Olivia, a family, children, everything. You ruined it." Emily stood there, swaying on her feet as if she'd been slapped in the face. "You heartless bastard," she screamed. "You think I don't remember what you did to my husband? You made me help you kill him so I could be with you. You promised me a future." She lunged at him, clawing and punching like a madwoman. Robert didn't hold back either. He slapped her hard, and the two of them started fighting right there in front of everyone. Their shouting grew more vulgar by the second. The guests were stunned, silent and disgusted by what they were witnessing. The room filled with murmurs and whispers of condemnation. Robert finally managed to pin Emily down. His face and neck were scratched and bloody, but he still had the nerve to turn back to me and plead. "Olivia, please forgive me. I'll make it up to you. As soon as I fix all of this, let's get married again. You're the only one I've ever loved." I couldn't help but laugh. "I don't care who you love, Robert. We're over. For good. I'll only live better without you. You were the one dragging me down." His face turned pale as chalk. His entire body trembled like a leaf. "Olivia, just let me explain. I swear I didn't mean for any of this to happen. Our child is still alive, isn't he? You can't stay mad at me forever over one little mistake. Let's go get remarried right now." "We've been through so many years together," Robert said, eyes pleading, "and we have a child now. You can't just leave me." But all I felt was disgust. I couldn't even believe a single word he said anymore. Just then, the banquet hall doors were flung open. A group of uniformed officers burst in. Leading them was a man wearing a badge that marked him as a political commissar, along with the city's chief of police. "We've received reports," the commissar announced, his voice sharp and commanding. "Robert Hayes is suspected of abusing his authority, engaging in illegal conduct, and harming public interest. Please cooperate with our investigation." Gasps echoed through the hall. Everyone froze, stunned, watching in silence as Robert and Emily were surrounded. Robert's attempts at denial immediately stopped. Before he could react, the officers had already cuffed him. He struggled wildly. "This is a false report. This isn't real. You've got the wrong people." But the commissar didn't even look at him. "We never act without solid evidence. You think we'd make an arrest this serious without confirmation?" Emily, already in cuffs, looked panicked. "Why are you arresting me? Robert's the one who abused his position. I'm just an ordinary civilian." Their arrogance was gone. Now they were frantic and helpless. Then the chief of police stepped forward, speaking in a slow, heavy voice. "Emily, you're suspected of intentionally murdering your husband. This is a serious case. You'll need to come with us." That was the moment everything became clear. There was no more confusion, no more benefit of the doubt. The entire room understood exactly what kind of people Robert and Emily were. Robert's boss was so furious his face turned purple. "Unbelievable, Robert. We trusted you. I could overlook your poor conduct, but this? And you even attacked me?" Emily curled up, trying to shake off her handcuffs. "Robert, help me, please. Help me. I didn't do anything. I was just following orders." But Robert couldn't save her. He could barely save himself. He'd never been particularly capable, just good at manipulation and clinging to power. As he was dragged away, he looked back at me desperately. "Olivia, you know me. Please help me. We have a child." I stood still, watching coldly, and at the very last moment, something seemed to click. His eyes widened. "It was you. You reported me. Why? Why would you do this to me?" I looked him in the eyes and said calmly, "Because you deserve every bit of it." The monster was finally taken away. The banquet slowly emptied out. Some kind-hearted relatives came up to me, seeing me holding my baby, and sighed. "Such a good woman, Olivia. If you ever need anything, please reach out to us." I smiled and thanked them. That very night, I boarded the train to the city. Right before I left, word came that Robert had been stripped of his rank and discharged from the military. He was going to face a military tribunal. After all, causing the death of a soldier wasn't a minor offense. It was likely over for him. Someone called to ask, cautiously, "Miss Olivia, would you like to see him? After all, you did live together for so many years." I smiled and shook my head. I poured everything into raising my son and starting fresh with my career. Life was exhausting, but fulfilling. My heart felt light. The day I was promoted to vice president, I received word from the Hayes family. Robert and Emily had both been sentenced to life in prison. Emily was released early on parole for good behavior. As soon as she got out, she divorced Robert. While still in prison, Robert desperately tried to reach me, begging me to help him appeal his case, but by then, everyone knew what kind of person he was. No one helped him. Emily resented Robert deeply. Their affair had turned to hate, but Emily had nothing of her own. No skills, no drive. She couldn't survive on her own for long. Eventually, unable to go on, Emily used a prison visit as an excuse and took her own life, dragging Robert with her. His mother contacted me, asking if I wanted to attend the funeral. I didn't respond. I only sent back a small sum of money. Some things were better left in the past. I had no desire to think about them anymore. My young son was out on the balcony, carefully stacking blocks with his tiny hands. The sky above was clear and endless, the sunlight warm and brilliant.